Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. Brought to you by Shock Therapy, Ride Your Way. Shade Wagon, throw some shade. And by DragonFireTools.com, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage.
We are Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, and we're joined now by one of our favorite guests, Guy Olson from Performance Fuel Specialist. Now, Guy, this time you're here to talk about diesel. And I've always been taught that you need to treat your diesel fuel in the wintertime because of all the gelling and the icing, but you're here to tell us how to weatherproof our diesel. Why do we need to treat it year-round?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And things have really changed in the industry, and it's leading up to more issues than we've ever had before. So we recommend treatment all summer long for a number of reasons. One of the things we need is lubricity. The new fuel systems, the tolerances are so incredibly tight. We're creating huge amounts of pressure in the fuel systems themselves. And so we need to lubricate and clean and take care of them each and every time. And that's not always an easy thing to do.
Now, lubricity is not the only thing you're looking for in an additive. What else can an additive do for your diesel fuel?
So our additives are a complete formula product covering a number of different problems. One of those problems would be water. You know, part of the problem you have with pressure or with the tolerances being so tight, you create a lot of pressure, which creates a lot of heat, which has problems, several problems of its own. One of them is condensation. So while in the wintertime you worry about getting a water freeze up, you really generate the water in the summertime. And so the product is going to take a little water out every time you fuel, so when winter gets here, we don't have a tank full of water.
And we talk about system cleanup when it comes to diesel fuel. Why is cleaning your entire fuel system so important?
Well, because of the tolerances, you see with a very small buildup, simply 3% buildup in an injector nozzle relates to a 12% loss of performance and efficiency. A micro amount of deposit can make a big difference. And who can afford a 12% loss of efficiency? Not to mention all the problems that brings with fuel in your engine oil, fuel dilution, and soot level.
Well, let's talk about soot. It's not just coming out of the exhaust system. No. It's causing a lot more problems within the engine. What are those?
More than people even realize. So soot is just a grit. It's just a little tiny piece of sandpaper, and you're pumping that through your engine. Of course, it's grinding on your bearings and everything else in your lower end. But the turbo is a huge problem. The turbos run at about 150,000 RPMs. The tolerances are so incredibly tight, very, very small. And now we introduce a little bit of grit inside that bearing or fuel, unburned fuel itself. It is so important to keep that engine running at peak. That'll keep that turbo running, keep it clean, nice, fresh oil, because it doesn't matter how good your oil is. If it's full of soot or diesel fuel,
you're sandblasting it.
You're sandblasting it. It's no good. And so you got to do that each and every time you fuel as well.
Now, what about the exhaust system? You don't think of exhaust as something you need to clean.
Yeah, exactly. But we treat the exhaust system by keeping track or taking care of the ignition system. So by your fuel igniting, burning more evenly and more completely, those sensors, those DPF, diesel particulate filter exhaust units, stay cleaner longer, you regen less, your sensors last better, and they operate precisely versus being clogged up. So part of it is not only taking care of the fuel system, but taking care of the exhaust system.
And back to the engine, you talked about all the forces in there, all the parts that are spinning, especially in the turbo, and that creates a lot of heat.
Tremendous.
So how is heat a detriment to your entire system?
Yeah, so part of the heat that you get is through the pressures in the system, and you're returning fuel to the tank at a high pressure, so that oxidizes your fuel. It takes brand new diesel and it makes old diesel out of it by sending it back at 160 plus degrees, and that creates IDID, internal diesel injector deposit, which is a whole new problem, condensation in your tank, and as we talked in the gas segment, the warm fuel does not burn efficiently.
Something that you've talked to me about off camera, I didn't even know existed. Microbial contamination.
Yes.
How big of a problem is that?
Yeah, microbial contamination has continued to explode. Part of it is because of ultra-low sulfur fuel. Part of it is because of the heat we're generating with the new high-pressure engines, which creates water, which is oxygen for these bugs. These bugs love warm fuel, and they love water. And they actually grow in your gas and your diesel, but primarily your diesel. So one of the things we've done, because we work with a lot of fleets, is come up with a microbial test kit. You can easily take a sample out of your fuel filter itself, put it in the vial, set that on the side. We've got a paper with the different problems you have and the degree you have them. You find out, you give us a call, and we will walk you through the steps and the product that you need to take care of that particular problem.
Your fuel system makes up 2/3 the cost of an engine like this, so you want to maintain it, you want to make sure it stays clean. You can do that with PFS. You can learn a lot from Guy on the videos that he's done. You can also subscribe to his newsletter. And if you have a fleet, bring this guy to your company. He does this all the time. He can educate your employees on what it's like to take control of your fuel system. You're going to learn stuff you never even dreamed of. You can find all this and a whole lot more at fuelguys.com. And you can find more Motorhead Garage presented by dragonfiretools.com just around the corner.